We just got one. A behemoth out of the SEC to help solidify Miami's offensive line. From the 706 to the 305. Jamal Meriweather, welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The transfer portal stays hot. I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and host of Postgame on the Hurricanes Radio Network. And thank you to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first or your second or your third listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the #1 Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We also got an update on Darien Mensah's next hearing. They moved it up, kinda. We'll talk the latest on Mensah's request to leave Duke and enroll somewhere, presumably at Miami. That's where all the smoke has been. But Miami makes an important offensive line addition today in Jamal Meriweather, former Georgia Bulldog. He's 3 years out of high school, but his first season was a red shirt. Meriweather has 2 years of eligibility left. Now, he hasn't been a starter at UGA, but he's been an important rotational guy. He's played primarily at left guard, has also gotten some work at right guard and right tackle. Now, he hasn't played left tackle to this point, so you have to wonder if he could be a depth option there. But I think it's worth pointing out that Alex Mirabal, Miami's offensive line coach, he cross-trains his O-linemen a ton, and sometimes guys end up playing in positions you don't expect. Right? You remember Jalen Rivers, all the versatility he had moving around Miami's offensive line before finishing his career at left tackle. You know, when Francis Mauigoa got to Miami, a lot of people assumed he would be a starting left tackle, ends up being a starting right tackle, and arguably the best in the country for these past 3 years. I would say the best in the country these past 3 years. Samson Okunlola, right? People assumed full-time left tackle. He's gotten most of his work at left guard. So we'll see where Jamal Merryweather slots in. But folks, whether it's tackle or guard, in fact, Miami might have more of a need at guard when it comes to losing interior offensive linemen, right? You lose your starting right guard, Inez Cooper, to the National Football League. You've just lost, three, and guys who haven't played a lot, but you did just lose 3 depth pieces into the transfer portal, with Derek Plaz leaving Miami, going to Auburn, Tommy Kinsler leaving Miami, and Nino Francavilla, who came to Miami as a center but had been working in practice at guard. So you do have definite needs in the interior. Now, on Jamal Merryweather, he's graded out well when he's played, okay? He only played 56 snaps with the Bulldogs this past season. And he only gave up 1 quarterback pressure and gave up 0 sacks during that time. He appeared in 12 games this past season, appeared in 3 games the prior season in 2024. So this is someone who, again, not a starter, but a regular contributor for the Georgia Bulldogs. And I mentioned at the top, big-bodied. Jamal Merryweather is 6'7", 6'7". I might cut that out of the episode. I might, but I did that for my son. He's 6'7", 305 pounds. And if there's any eval that you really trust when it comes to Miami's coaching staff, obviously you trust a number of different positional evals, but offensive line, this staff usually knows how to pick them. And Jamal Merryweather is someone Miami had been targeting for a long time. He took his transfer portal visit, I think it was over a week ago, January 17th, so about a week ago. On the 17th, he visited Miami, was really blown away, wanted to be a Miami Hurricane. The announcement just comes out here today on Friday, and Jamal Merryweather is a Miami Hurricane. And one other thing I want to emphasize here. Now, I'm not saying Miami is necessarily going to get Jordan Seaton. I know the Hurricanes are in the mix. They're in the top 3 for the former five-star left tackle out of Colorado. Miami's in that top three with LSU and Oregon. But I know one of the knee-jerk reactions when Miami landed Jamal Meriweather, my phone's blowing up. People asking me, does this mean Miami's out on Seaton, or they've given up, or they're definitely not getting him? Our understanding is they would take both. I mean, taking Merryweather does not mean that Jordan Seaton is not a take. Miami would not say no to Seaton, okay? Now, I know with the smoke, we talked about it on Seaton. I'm probably a little less optimistic about Miami's chances there than some other people who cover the team. I hope I'm wrong, and I think I feel that way because I've been really closely following the intel from the other schools. I know LSU has been very confident. You've had the reports out there that Seaton, his uncle also serves as his agent, and apparently the uncle is trying to push him to Oregon for financial reasons, this is according to reports, where maybe Seaton wants to be at LSU, but the uncle wants him to be at Oregon. Not sure where Miami fits into that mix, but I will say there was a comment that Jordan Seaton was quoted on today where he said for him, the most important thing is like his development, right? One final year in college for Jordan Seaton. And honestly, listen, if development is truly number one on your criteria, I don't see how you could do better than a year on Miami's offensive line, right? With the way Cristobal and Mirabal develop O-linemen. If that's really your criteria, it seems like Miami would be the place to be, even over Oregon and over LSU. So all this to say, Miami landing Jamal Merryweather does not mean they're no longer trying to land Jordan Seaton. Somebody asked me on social media if Miami were to land Seaton, what my starting offensive line would look like for next year. This is just me spitballing. If that were to happen, obviously Jordan Seaton would be your starting left tackle. Then I would think it would be either McCoy or Samson Okunlola starting at left guard. It looks like Ryan Rodriguez is probably coming back. He can get an extra year for injury. I think that's your starting center, either him or S.J. Alofaituli. And then, maybe Jamal Merryweather could be your starting right guard and Jackson Cantwell your starting right tackle, or vice versa. But I think it could look something like that. The other bit of news that we had today, and this came out in the late afternoon. So, all right, let me backtrack a little bit. So, in the morning today, we found out that Darian Mensah, who wants to play quarterback, we think, at the University of Miami, leaving Duke. Duke is suing him. Duke had a temporary restraining order on him, where even though he's in the transfer portal, technically, he can't enroll anywhere, and he can't sign to play football anywhere, but he can't even enroll academically. So Darien Mensah today filed an emergency motion to modify the temporary restraining order, the TRO, to allow him to enroll academically somewhere, because he's worried, probably should be, about missing the drop-dead academic deadlines, right? So, his next hearing was scheduled for February 2nd, which is well after the academic enrollment deadline at Miami. My understanding was Miami's deadline was Wednesday on January 21st. In Mensah's motion, he claimed it was today, January 23rd, and he was trying to get an emergency hearing or a ruling today, right? The response from the Durham, North Carolina court was, yeah, we'll give you an expedited hearing. Your hearing is no longer on February 2nd. We're going to rush your hearing to January 29th. That's 2 business days. So he's going to get his hearing 2 business days earlier than the one that he didn't want. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's something. I don't know what that does for the academic deadline, because my concern, obviously your number one concern, and I don't think this will happen, is that either he loses and he can't leave Duke and he's stuck at Duke, or he changes his mind, decides just to stay at Duke. I don't think either of those things will happen. I think Darian Mensah is going to be a Miami Hurricane. But then your next concern would be, if there truly is nothing that can be done about an academic deadline that he missed, he wouldn't be able to enroll until the summer, which means he could not participate in spring football and presumably couldn't participate in official offseason workouts either. I would need clarification on that, but I would assume he would not be able to participate in offseason workouts if he can't enroll until the summer. And I know, people have said that maybe the university president could give him a special exemption to enroll later. That's above my pay grade, because I know that, for regular old people, I'm a University of Miami alum, they would not have let Donno enroll, on January 29th if the deadline's the 21st. Maybe they do it differently. If you're a star quarterback, I know I wouldn't have gotten that sort of an exception. So I can't speak on that, but I know it's something people are thinking about. So yeah, obviously Miami wants to, I believe, add Darien Mensah to be their starting quarterback. Cooper Barkate, his top receiver from Duke, is also in the transfer portal. It sounds like they want to go together as a package deal. So we'll keep you updated. It sounds like January 29th is now going to be the day you circle. They didn't give him much of an expedited hearing, but it is what it is. Welcome to the U, Jamal Merryweather. Hopefully we'll have one of these for Darien Mensah at some point, and we'll follow the Jordan Seaton situation as well. Smash that like button, subscribe. We'll talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the #1 Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.